Okay, YouTubers, this is YouTube Prisoner 35784 reporting from Farmer Prison 7 in the UK. Now, today I've got some interesting stuff to show you on Mars. Now, I'm going to show you one or two older Gigapans that I put up, but there's some new ones here. This is the latest one from the Curiosity rover. This one here is Sol 3292, so this really is like the latest set. They're in black and white, unfortunately, but they're in good detail, mainly because the rover is actually zoomed in and is not very far from these objects. In other words, the rover's down here at the bottom of this ridge, and the things we're looking at aren't very far away, so they're sort of less than 20 feet away, I would say, most of these things. So there's good detail in the actual image, and the first thing I spotted was this. And I put a clip of this up on Mars Magazine. Now, if you're not a member of Mars Magazine, it's completely free to join up. You can come along, and if you find anything in any of my Gigapans or anywhere else on Mars or on the Moon or anything like that, it could be even on Venus or whatever. It doesn't have to be Mars or the Moon. If you find anything, come along to Mars Magazine and post it on here, and we'll check it out. And if it's really astonishing and in good detail and pretty clear, it might even end up in a video or something like that as well. So come along to Mars Magazine on Facebook. Okay, here's the thing at the top here, the cover image. So come along and show it. I often show stuff on here and then don't make a video about it for a few days, just to see what the public reaction is to some of these things first. And that's what I've done with this. I didn't think a lot of it really, but it's really strange, and it defies logical explanation from the sort of gumph we get from NASA about such things as erosion and stuff like that. We got a sort of squarish object with what look like wires or metal parts coming down into it. This looks like another example of eroded concrete with reinforced bars going through it. And there's a lot of this I've shown in this area at the base of Mount Sharp in previous videos. This is another example, I think. A lot of these rocks are heavily eroded. They're very, very old. They're probably millions of years old, a lot of them. And a lot of it is actually concrete, and the concrete's worn away, showing some of the metal parts inside. Okay? Either that, or some metal objects fell in the lake bed here and became encrusted in clay and a concretion, and then the concretion, the naturally formed concretion, has eroded and exposed some of these metal objects or parts or wreckage that was in the bottom of this lake area. Okay, so it's either one or the other. Either way, it looks like something possibly intelligent that we're seeing here, because we've got this total. There's a perfect square object on the top. There's a squarish object, a box kind of shape here, and then we have these strange sort of bars or wires or whatever they are, or pipes. This one seems to be going through those others. So this one here goes through these in sort of almost like a grid pattern there, almost. And then we've got this part here. So some weird stuff going on here. I don't really fully understand what it is. It's either wreckage that's been encrusted in mud, which is then hardened and caused concretion naturally, mud and sediment, or it's actual artificial concrete that has metal parts inside it which are now revealed. Either, I would say. Very similar either way. I've got it here on a Gigapan. I'll just show you that quickly. This is enhanced, but only very, very slightly. It's been brightened up. It says here, on here it says, 35% brightness added and 20% contrast, because the raw image of this is quite gloomy, as a lot of these are. The problem is Gale Crater is a long way down. It's much further down than Jezero Crater. Jezero Crater is only about a mile deep, I think, maybe 2 in some areas, but this is over 3 miles down below the surface of Mars. And even though it's quite bright and there's a thin atmosphere, the light conditions aren't great a lot of the time in this crater, so these images can get a bit dark and a bit gloomy. As well as that, the rover's camera lens cover on the actual mass cam is covered in a thin film, or actually a fairly thick film of dust now as well. This is the rover here. These are the mass cameras, and this is the main one, I think, and this is the one that is, it's got a load of dust stuck to it, and everything looks even dirtier than it did initially. This is why I like to go through some of the older images of from this rover, because they're actually clearer. The colour images are pretty good. They're brighter and they're sharper because they don't have that crap all over them. And but this one's pretty good. And there's loads of weird things in here, and I haven't really sort of gone through it properly, but this is where it is. And there it is, you can see it. Now at height, I would say this is probably about 1 foot tall, maybe a bit more. And it's got these kind of pipes or parts coming down like that, with a square part and then another square part on top of that. What are the chances of that, I ask you? The chances of that happening randomly in nature, just from erosion, are absolutely astronomically low. So low, in fact, I would say it was impossible. Absolutely impossible. Okay, so I've got it up in here. I'll just show you that close up. This is a little bit brighter here, so you can see it better. There's the raw clip, and you can see how dark that is. So I really brightened it up quite a lot here, and you can see these things coming down. And the weird thing is, this one seems to go through them, because you've got these coming down here. It goes through like that. Then we have this part there, and some parts there. Here's the main sort of part at the top here, which looks like a piece of half melted or distorted metal or something. And then we have another kind of rectangular part on top, just here, with a weird bit there. And it kind of looks like metal objects that were melted almost, and fallen into the sediment, and then sediment formed around it, which then dried out as the lake dried out, and formed this kind of clay or concretion on it. Who knows? But it may, like I said, with many of the other structures, it may have been a built structure which is simply eroded away, and the concrete's eroded away, and we're seeing some of the internal structure that's sticking out. So it's either I would say, but either way, it doesn't look like a natural rock, because it seems to be way too complex. We've got parts coming off to the side here, it seems, as well. Really complicated. And there's the bottom of it. We got this weird sort of shape there, and it sort of comes down here. We got all these other rocks here. So that looks to me like wreckage of some sort, whether it's from a building or from another structure or boat or whatever. I couldn't tell you, but it's very odd. And we got these parts. There's another part here with a part going over the top of it. So this looks like some kind of engineering, or the remains of some kind of engineered, manufactured object, or part of a structure. And it's a bit confusing because we got other things nearby, like this, kind of obscuring it. And because we got this thing behind it, it's not very clear. So there we are. There was that. I've got some other stuff to show you very quickly here. Now, I put these up recently as well. This is a new find also. This is from the Perseverance rover. Now, this is also a very recent set of images from Sol 254. And I put this up about a week ago, I think. There's the date there, the 9th. Yeah, no, less than a week ago. A few days ago. And there's not that much in here. It's interesting because we got some weird structures. And a lot of this stuff looks like buildings. The remains of buildings. We got this weird thing here, right? And this kind of squarish, rectangular gap in between these rocks here. We got another what looks like a ruined structure here, right? With a flat part on top sticking out, just here. We got this kind of leaning kind of structure sticking out there. I'm absolutely sure that these are buildings, but they're heavily, heavily eroded and buried. And we're only seeing the top remains of these structures, okay? Sticking out the sand. And we've got another structure here, and you can actually see there's the back wall and there's the front wall, but there's an entranceway here. So this to me looks like a a ruined structure, and you've got the back part there, and it comes round here in a sort of rectangle here. So this is one side, there's the other side, there's the back side, and there's the other side. So a bit of a squarish or rectangular shaped building, and we've got these parts in like a room here, and this looks like an entrance with the remains of an entrance right there. Okay, this is the entranceway where I put this ruin entrance. So there's loads of weird remains of structures here, and some of them are quite obvious when you look at them. And there's another one over here. There's a weird sort of pile here, which is probably a ruin, with these weird sort of broken up bits of masonry and stuff. Okay, but this one was quite cool because you can actually see the shape of it really well. And I've got the left and the right versions of this, so you can look at it from a slightly different angle down here as well. Just here. This is the right version, so you can actually see that shape better. This part of it here, and there's the wall there coming round, and the wall there with the entrance and the inner wall, and then the back wall at the top there. Okay, so there's loads of these in the area, and I've shown loads of them before. Some of them are really large, but most of them are fairly small, house sized, I would say. Reasonably small houses, I would say, not large. You're talking like 10, sort of 8-foot rooms, 6-foot rooms, that kind of thing. Quite small rooms, and structures less than 20 feet across, a lot of them, like this one here, I would say. This is fairly close. I'd say this is probably, this looks like part of a structure, and we've got another one behind it. But in between some of these things, we've also got things like this. Another head here. Now this one isn't very clear. It's quite a long way off from the rover. But it's just sitting there on the sand, and you can see it there. There's the raw clip. It's not that clear because these images are really bright, and there's not much shadow in this because it's near midday, I think this was taken. And even so, you can still see there's a chin and a mouth and a nose and two round little eyes and a head coming up like this. And there's also this weird thing here with two eye-like structures on it. I'm not saying these are eyes, I'm just saying they look kind of square, as if they're made or carved or something. Very strange. And there's also this thing here as well, which I spotted. Now, this also looks a bit like a head with an eye here, and a nose. But actually, when you look at it more carefully, it's got some really weird details on it, and it's almost like it's got sort of branches or roots encrusted onto it from some kind of plant. If I show the magnifier, just here, this is what I'm calling the nose here, and an eye, and another eye here. I'm not saying that's what they are, I'm saying they're shaped like that. Then we have a mouth-shaped structure at the bottom. But then we have all these weird sort of roots, what look like roots of some kind of plant coming round it and over it, okay? As if it's kind of got some kind of fossilized plant or something on it, or who knows. Really weird. I'll show you these things in here. I've got them up in here very quickly. I've shown you that one already. Here's that head. Now, this isn't very clear. It's a bit too far away, really, unfortunately. But this is about, I would say, 12 to 20 inches tall, probably nearer 20. So it's in the same sort of almost giant size kind of realm as a lot of the others I've shown recently. And it's got a perfectly domed head. Not a lot of detail. There's a little nose there. There's a little mouth there. There's a chin. There's some weird detail by it there. Two little round eyes. Quite dark. The nose comes in like that. We've got nostril detail there as well. And possibly a helmet, because there's some sort of detail here. Right? Some kind of helmet or something, like a lot of them I've shown recently. So not much detail to be seen there, but you can see that detail in the raw clip, and I'll show you on the actual Gigapan itself. It is marked here. I've got them in both. You can see it down here, just there, it doesn't go any closer. This is quite a long way off, I would say, about, well, over 100 feet away, and it's still visible, okay? It's probably about 120 feet or something away from the rover, possibly 150. There it is. So for it to show up from that distance, it must be about 2 feet in size, I would say, or around 20 inches. Impossible to say exactly, but you can see it in both images here. Let's look at the top one. I think the top was slightly clearer. Shadows slightly different on it. But like I said, because this was taken near midday, the shadows really are quite poor, and there's not a lot of definition in the image. So you need to take a clip and add contrast, like I always say. Contrast is your friend. Okay, contrast and brightness, and you can change the brightness, either bring it down or up, and then play with the contrast and bring out the shadows and the shapes. This one has a lot more definition because the shadows are more prominent. This is a set of things that I found years ago, and I recently redid the Gigapans of these and made them bigger. These are completely raw, by the way, and there's loads of stuff to see here. Now we're near the Dingo Gap area. This is the Dingo Gap area, and there are loads and loads of statues in this area. In fact, I will do a whole series, or I will do one video just about Dingo Gap again, showing everything by Dingo Gap, because there's so much. I'm not going to go through it all now because we'd be here all day. But basically, we've got a whole bunch of things here. I'm just going to show you them on the page. I've added them to the Gigapan. We've got this rock here with a sort of a banded edge. This is architecture. You see the banding on the edge here. Okay, that's banding, right? That's part of a structure. We've got this really cool little medieval looking statue here, looking over in this direction. You can see the eyes there. If I go back a bit, I'll use the magnifier actually. It's just insane. And I put a comparative image there. Okay. With a straight mouth, got a very thin nose, and these weird little eyes, and wearing some kind of headgear. All right. Then we have this one, also wearing a helmet or some kind of headgear with some kind of snake-like thing on the front here. And what I've done is I've added a comparative image here. Let's go back a little bit. There we are. You can see that snake on that. That's on Tutankhamun, I think, his burial mask. Very similar to that, but it's also shaped more like this. We've got a very big nose and a mouth and an eye here. Not very clear, that one. Some of these aren't very clear, and it was led on its back, this one. Okay, looking up. And there's also one here that looks like an ape, but that may be an optical trick. Not sure about that. And this is a new find. Now, this is why it's always worth going over older images, because sometimes you find something new which you missed before, and this is such a thing. This is, I would say, one of the best examples of a carving of a human head on Mars. Okay, there's the neck, there's the chin, there's the mouth, there's the nose and the eyes and heads. This looks a bit damaged up here. I'd imagine this would have been a bit taller. Okay, and I've got it up in here. I'll show you it. There's also a little one behind it. You can see two eyes and a mouth there. There's a little one just behind it, but it's very dark. But I'll show you in here, because what I've done is I've brightened that up a bit more. It's not really very clear because it's in shadow, right? And there it is. Let's go a bit bigger. A perfect nose with nostril detail, a mouth with lower lip detail, chin here, okay, eye there, eyebrow, head coming up. This looks damaged and comes to here. There's the neck and a part of the jewel there. There's the lip. You can actually see lip detail there and an ear. Just here, okay? I was pleased with that because often you don't get ears on them. They're broken off, or a lot of them don't even have ears. A lot of these statues, you can't see any ears at all, or they're so small that they're insignificant. But this one was good, and actually, let's take that off for you. You can see all those details there. Now, if I brighten this up a bit more, you might be able to see it even more. Let's go a little bit brighter. Not really. Let's add a bit of contrast. Let's see if we can bring out some of that. Let's go darker again. So sometimes going darker really brings out the shadows. Now you can see those eyes there quite clearly. The nose, the mouth, and the ear, the chin, with a crease where the jaw comes back up like this, which is perfect. This is a human head. I'm not saying it's totally human, but it looks human. Not Homo sapiens sapiens, but one of the Homo races, I would say. Human. One of the most human looking that I've seen on Mars. Right? This isn't some weird sort of reptilian or insectoid or anything like that. This is human. And I think the humans were the dominant, at least for a number of thousands of years, I think humans were the dominant people on Mars. At least for a while. Because most of the significant statues I've shown and artwork depict humans. Okay? There are others that depict reptilians and reptiles and other things, and even insectoids and stuff like that, with big eyes, big bug eyes, and greys and stuff like that as well. But these are the dominant, I would say the dominant people, because there's more artwork showing these. Okay? Humans. And the larger stuff is all of humans, the really big stuff. Okay? So, at some point, humans were the dominant people on Mars, and I think later on they had a war or something, and the place was taken over by another sort of race of people or beings, possibly from another planet. I don't know. I can't prove it, but the evidence does suggest that. But this is one of the best examples, and I would imagine the head would have probably come up to there or something, or even a bit higher to there. Okay, not sure, can't be sure of that, but that's what it looks like to me. Okay, so a bit hard to see this one because the raw image is really muddy and is in shadow, but it's there. You can see the nose and the mouth and the eyes. You've just got to look carefully, and there's loads of stuff in these, so I'm not going to go on and on about all this because I've shown a lot of this before. But if you follow the links in the description below, there will be links to these Gigapans. And in these Gigapans, there are links to the original videos showing all these things as well. And you can come and check them out. And you may find some other things in here as well. Like I said, follow the links. Check these out. You will be astonished at what you might see in some of these things. Honestly, the number of artifacts in some of these areas on Mars is really quite astonishing. And we've got all sorts. We've got wreckage, we've got statues, we've got remains of buildings. And there are even like... vehicles that you might see occasionally as well. In some of these images, you've got buried and wrecked vehicles like boats and stuff. Okay, so do come along, check them out, check out the Gigapans, come to Mars Magazine. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.